my name is Mr. Zach. I didn't see you there. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about sound, specifically sound waves. Now, you might be thinking, what's a sound wave? Actually, you probably wouldn't think, what's a sound wave, because you've heard them before. Today, we're going to be more fine-tuning our sound knowledge. Are you ready to get started? When we talk about sound waves, we're actually talking about vibrations.
What's a vibration?
That's a great question. A vibration is simply a disturbance. And think of that as like something shaking back and forth a whole lot of times. So behind me, I have some metal pipes. If I take this mallet and smack one of them, it's like music to my ears. It vibrates back and forth a whole lot. We know this because if I take my hand and stop it, I can feel the vibration. Let's try that again. Ooh. Now, all sound is like this. All sound has a vibration or disturbance, even your beautiful voice. Okay, I have an activity for us. Do me a favor. On the count of 3, say your name for me. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Dr. Ossicles the fourth.
Thank you, Dr. Ossicles. Now, could you feel any kind of vibration? No, probably not. But this time, take your hand, put it over your throat just like this, and say your name again on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Mr. Zach. So you can feel the vibration in your throat. You can feel that disturbance wiggling back and forth. Now you may be wondering, what's happening in my throat that causes the vibrations? Well, very simple. Air from your lungs passes into the larynx. And inside of your larynx, there are things called vocal folds, and when the air passes over the vocal folds, they, word of the day, vibrate. Those vibrations are then sent out of your mouth into the air all around us. Sound waves need air particles to vibrate to carry that disturbance along. That's how all of sound works. It travels through the air in order to reach our ears. If you look at my diagram right here, let me hold it down a little bit, you can notice there are a bunch of black dots. They represent air particles. Now you'll notice that in those black dots, there's some bands moving across them that show how they move back and forth. This is the way that air particles can carry disturbances through the air to reach our ears. Now they don't only do this in air, they can do any sort of medium. So that means they can travel through water in a similar way, they can even travel through solids. But most of the time we think about them traveling through air particles. When they finally reach our ears, they hit the outside ear. The vibration travels into the inner ear until it hits this green thing called the eardrum. The eardrum vibrates and is connected to the smallest bones in the human body. These vibrate as well, and that vibration is sent to the cochlea, which is this funny snail-looking thing inside of your ear full of weird fluid. That weird fluid vibrates and sends impulses to your brain. Basically, those impulses say, hey, there's a sound happening over here, and your brain is able to process those sounds. Okay, just to recap, we learned that sound waves are actually disturbances that travel through air particles around us, and that's how we're able to hear them. Now, whenever sound scientists are studying these sound waves, they actually use 2 terms to help them understand what a sound wave is. We're going to learn them today. They're really easy to get, okay? The first one is frequency. And frequency simply tells us how fast or slowly the disturbance is vibrating. So something that has a high frequency is vibrating very fast, and something that has a low frequency is vibrating very slow. Take my tuning fork right here. If I strike it on something, maybe if I strike it on something a little bit harder, it'll start vibrating back and forth very fast. There's a number on the side of my tuning fork, 261.6. And that tells me what the frequency of this tuning fork is. Basically, it's telling me how fast it's vibrating back and forth. Now, if the tuning fork is a little bit shorter, such as this one, it vibrates with a higher frequency because the prongs are a little bit shorter and able to wiggle a lot faster. Now that is true for everything in sound. Generally, smaller things or shorter things vibrate faster and have higher frequencies than longer or larger things that vibrate slower and have lower frequencies. Okay, so if we look at my piano here, I've got a lot of different kind of metal strings. These large ones over here that are stretched really, really long are going to produce lower frequencies because they vibrate slower because they're so big. But the ones over here that are a lot shorter, like only about this long, and they're really skinny, they're going to vibrate faster and produce higher frequencies. So the long ones, lower frequencies. These shorter, skinny ones, higher frequencies, okay? In addition to frequency, there's another word that sound scientists use to describe sound waves called amplitude. Amplitude is very easy. It just tells us how big or small that disturbance is. So things that have a high amplitude and are super big, whenever we think of music, are generally pretty loud. Things that have a low amplitude are making only a small bit of disturbance and they're pretty quiet. Actually, hang on a second.
Low amplitude. High amplitude. Low amplitude. High amplitude.
Now, one thing to note is that frequency and amplitude are not really related because you can have high frequency sound waves that are high or low in amplitude, and the same is true for the low frequency waves. They're just two different characteristics of the sound wave. Now, whenever musicians sit down to play, they don't think of things through like frequencies and amplitude and all that stuff. They like to think through dynamics and pitch. So dynamics just tells you how loud or soft to play your sound waves. That's the same thing as amplitude, but we just like to think of it through dynamics. Now, pitch is just the way that we organize all of those frequencies into different scales and notes. So taking a string of notes together that are a bunch of different frequencies, it just helps us to think of them through different pitches. Are all different frequencies that come together, but we just line them up nicely so that they fit within our musical context. But wait a minute. What if you have something that is really cool and can make a vibration, but you can't really hear the vibration very well? Is there a way that we can amplify it? Well, just like sound waves can travel through air, when they travel through solids, sometimes interesting things happen. So I have a slinky here, and on its own, it's pretty quiet. You might be able to hear it a little bit, but it's hard to hear. If I take a cup or some type of like container and attach it to my slinky, something cool happens. Watch. The container is able to amplify the frequency of the slinky. Now, the way this works is through the science of resonance. Each container has its own resonant frequency, and whenever you apply a vibration to it, if the vibrations make that frequency, it helps amplify it a whole lot more. Think of it, it's able to bounce around in my cup a lot more. Now, the slinky is actually making something called noise, which just basically means it gives all the vibrations. So whenever I add it to the cup, you can hear the resonant frequency of my cup pretty well. Now, this actually works for any kind of container. So if I take something else, like a metal tube right here, we can cause the same kind of effect, that same resonance. Now, the only thing I need to do is make a vibration. And you know what? I'm feeling a little adventurous, so why don't I use some fire to make a vibration? my resonant frequency of this tube, whenever it's excited, the vibration caused by the fire in the bottom, you can hear the resonant frequency of this tube pretty well. Okay, now it's time for a hands-on workshop. Thank you guys so much. I'm gonna walk through the process first, and then after I walk through the whole process, you should try it out on your own. Step number 1, you need to find something that can vibrate back and forth. So I have a couple of options here. I've got a rubber band. Balloons work really good, but there's a few different things you can do. Step 2, find a container of some kind. This time I have this lovely coffee container I'm gonna be using, but you can use anything. You can use like a box, maybe a tissue box works really well. There's a lot of different things. Now step 3, you're wanting to sketch your ideas first. So I'm gonna start off by just sketching my coffee can here. Oh, lovely. I'm such a good artist. And maybe first I want to try making a guitar kind of stringed instrument. So I'm thinking, well, I'll just stretch my rubber band all the way around my can, and we'll see how that goes. This is the open part of my can, so I remember that, okay? Now step 4, all you gotta do is try to find a way to do your blueprint. So on my coffee can, I'm gonna open it up, and I'm gonna take my rubber band and try to, oh, well, that didn't work. I'm gonna take my rubber band, oh, that didn't work. I'm gonna take my, okay. Looks like my rubber band's not long enough, so I'm gonna actually cut my rubber band. And then I'm gonna use some tape to tape my rubber band onto my coffee can. So now I've got my lovely rubber band taped on my coffee can. We'll be able to try it. But important step, since I had to make a change to my design, it's always good to mark those changes on your paper, just so you can remember them, okay? Because I found out I needed to use some tape there to keep it together. All right, now let's try her. Ooh, pretty good. It's not making a frequency I like. It's kind of a low frequency. I want it to be a little bit higher. So what if I stretched my rubber band kind of like the piano tighter? Let's see if that changes the frequency. Ooh, pretty good. So that's working pretty well. Another option you can do, and I won't draw this one out, but you can also make a drum. And there's a lot of different ways to do this one. I'll show you how to do it with a with a balloon. You could do the same thing with paper, aluminum foil, any kind of thing. Now I'm stretch my balloon. It's too small. So I'm going to cut this part of the balloon off. And take my balloon, stretch it over the top of my can, and pretty good. I've got a decent drum there. So those are 2 different ways of doing it, but there's really so many different kind of instruments you can make with this. So feel free to be super duper creative. The important thing is to first have something that can vibrate. And then the second thing is to have some kind of container that will amplify your vibration. Oh, you guys are still here? Well, let's go ahead and wrap up then. So just to remember everything we talked about today, sound waves are simply vibrations that need to travel through matter to reach our ears. Most of the time we think about them traveling through air, but as we learned, they can travel through some other things as well and cause some pretty cool stuff to happen. In sound, we have 2 words to describe everything we talked about today: frequency, how fast the sound waves are vibrating, or amplitude, how large or small that vibration is. When we talk about musical pitch, we're actually talking about frequency. So all that means is that our musical scale, C, D, E, F, G, all that stuff, it just means that each of those pitches have a corresponding frequency that goes along with them. So frequency and pitch are pretty much the same thing. Anyway, we want to thank you guys for having fun with me today and having a lot of fun exploring sound and music. And here at the Clay Center, we look forward to seeing you guys again sometime to play in all of our fun science exhibits and see all of our cool art exhibits as well. Anyway, thank you guys so much and have a nice day.